Excellent. So I think people are starting to fill in now. Would like to open up by saying welcome. It's a fabulous to have everybody here. I noted that we've got 447 people registering. We will just wait a couple of minutes of light banter until we officially kick off. But we did note that everyone here is in lockdown except for Sam across in Adelaide there. I feel like, and Russell is about to be let loose back on Byron Bay tomorrow night.
Look out. I think I'm losing track. I think it's only been 5 weeks, maybe something like that. Not so bad.
Yeah. Us Melburnians done it tough, right, Maaike?
Yeah.
Us Melburnians are over it.
Yeah. So we'd love to have your interaction. We want to know who's out there and where you're from. Tell us in the chat what state you're based in and what your mental state's like. Also, if you can let us know what business you're from there. Peter Novak, who's an employee of mine, so he can say this kind of stuff. Rusty, 5 weeks lockdown, my heart bleeds for you.
I still get to see the dolphins in the morning, though, in my morning exercise routine, so everything's fine.
Yeah, I think you've got a house that you own that you rent out in Melbourne that you haven't been able to attend to for some time. So are you enjoying getting out of your landlord duties?
I actually was considering moving back to Melbourne and coming back to my house, and the borders were closed, and I thought, well, why do that? Keep renting it out and stay.
Right. On the chat, we see Jack from Gem Energy up in Queensland. G'day, Jack. Somebody from Roy Herbert from the Pilbara, Western Australia. Great to have you tuning in. North Narrabeen, Melbourne, the lockdown capital of Australia. I see some Western Australians. Lovely to see. Katie from Bundjalung country up in Byron Bay. Katie Moran. So there you go, Russell, you have to bump into each other.
G'day, Katie.
Great to see. We've already got 127 people in the room. I expect that's going to go up with fantastic registrations, over 400 in total. So I'm thrilled to be the people who are interested in what we've got to say.
There's Pete Thorne, Solar Ray, we've got David McCallum, some superstars of solar attending.
Indeed. So, hey, thanks everybody for, we're going to make sure that this is valuable for you. Here's our all-star cast on your screens there. You should be able to see that now. So we're going to hear from Nigel Morris from Solar Analytics, myself from Sunfluence, Katherine McConnell, a billion-dollar woman from Bright, Russell French, Energetic Consulting and Sunfluence, Maaike Gobel from Open Solar, and Sam Craft, who's one of the leading women in solar and a director, I believe, of the Smart Energy. What's it called these days? It keeps on changing. Sorry, Sam. As well as NRG Solar, so Smart Energy Council, pardon me. Gary Fuchs, you cheeky bugger. Gary Fuchs from Brisbane. What's a lockdown and should I get one? No, you shouldn't, Gary. You most certainly shouldn't. Look, this is an overview of what we got to come through. We want you to keep being involved in this. If you've got any questions that you want to ask for panelists to answer, then use the Q&A function for that. But if you've got, if you want to interact and with other people and have a chat, let us know. Interact with us on the chat line there. There'll also be some polls and things that we're running through for you. I should mention this is being recorded and also should mention that there are giveaways that we will be giving away, but those are going to be at the end and only for people who have stuck around and are on the call at the end. So yes, it's been recorded, but if you want to be in the running for some prizes, then you definitely want to stick around to the end. There's some significant value in there. One thing which didn't get publicised, Katherine, was one of your giveaways there. We know that there's a barbecue up for grabs as a lucky door prize kind of thing, but there's also something, did you want to mention that?
Yeah, so what we've got is for people who submit an application using the Bright payment plan up to $15,000, you'll be able to offer that with no vendor fee impact to yourself. So hopefully you'll be able to get a customer converted, hopefully a high value customer to bring in some more revenue to your business. So
Fabulous. So there you go. Sign up with Bright at the end of the webinar, right?
Stay focused now.
Yeah.
Stay focused now. brightwithe.com.au at the end.
There you go. We'll be sharing the link for that that prize at the end, as well as describing all the other prizes. But basically, everyone here has offered something. There's AirPods up for grabs. There's some consulting. There's some solar analytics prizes, and Sun was just throwing out market data for everybody. There's some extra stuff for everybody. It's worth hanging around for the end, mostly because of what we're going to say, of course. Anyway, let's get into what we're going to say. Where are we? Can we see Sunny? Garth, I'll try and get my dog Sunny here for you. Yes, thank you. Actually, there's two Sunnies on the call. Maaike has got a Sunny there at her home as well. He's a golden retriever cross poodle, so he's called a Groodle. He's a bit bigger than my Sunny, right, Maaike?
Oh, we have gorgeous sunnies. They caught up once and lost jumping in the river, especially my sunny, Cape Feral.
So if I can't get you live, Sunny, then I'll get you a picture of the two Sunnies meeting for the first time. Right. So premise and some interesting market data there. The market is down. You look at the overall national market, and for the second month running, we are below where we were at the same point last year. And that's the first time that the solar industry has been in that situation nationally since I think 2015. So the end of growth is kind of what's happening for us at the moment. And the obvious reason for that is lockdown. But the question there is it just lockdown, or is there more at play here? And regardless of what's going on, you still need to do something about it. And so we're going to be discussing that. But it's an interesting question, because when I do the analysis, I can see that this isn't just going to go away when lockdown ends. And so what we're going to be presenting today may get you through bunkering down for a bit, but some of these strategies are going to be really good for coming out the other side as well. So what do we see on screen here at the moment is the monthly volume by state, and you can see that New South Wales sort of before lockdown was pretty flat anyway. Queensland pretty flat anyway. You take out the effect of Melbourne's 2020 lockdown, and you end up with a pretty flat line there, as well as Western Australia and South Australia market, actually declining over that period there in purple. So all of this is saying to me, okay, this isn't just the impacts of lockdown, which is causing a slowdown in the market. And there's reasons to say that the market was, customers that would have bought in 2021 were brought forward into 2020 sales, artificially stimulating that market as people did home improvements, etc., during a highly stimulated economy. So the question is, what's out the other side? And let's have a look at some of this. What's interesting, and going back to that message that I was saying, that what you do now may be about getting you through lockdown, but what you do now can actually set you up for the years to come. And before I go into this slide, let me just revert back and say that there are forecasts, and we're already seeing this, of lower electricity prices that are actually being reduced because there's so much renewable energy in the mix now, pushing down wholesale energy prices, pushing down feed-in tariffs, and pushing down electricity bills. And so that acts as a slowdown on the solar industry. Then you've got the dreaded, and potentially not something to be dreaded, sun tax, and that's front page news. But even before that may come into play, you've got export constraints, and Sam can talk us through what's happening in South Australia as the vanguard there, and what that does for customers' purchasing mentalities. On top of which you've got price rises due to COVID, and people just sensing the economy is a bit shaky as well. So we've got a poll up there on screen. Be interested to get your opinion there as I'm going through. Are you selling remotely while in lockdown? We'll come into some of those answers later in the presentation. So, so as I was saying, what you do now isn't just about getting locked down. I suspect that the years of 30% compound annual growth aren't going to continue out the other side of this. But what you do now can actually set you up well for the future. Here's some charts of the volumes of some specific companies here down the right. Let me see if I can get a laser pointer or something. There we go. Okay, so we've got some significant companies and then the rest of the market. And rest of the market contracted there, you're seeing it in red over those years 2014 to 2016, at the same time as these selected companies were growing. So that's Euro Solar, and I've also grouped them with National Solar Energy Group, Infinite Energy, Integra, SAE, Solar Wholesalers in South Australia, Solgen, Technos, all of which grew and gained market share there over that period. And then when the industry stopped its downturn and started growing, all of these businesses really accelerated out the other side. So the question is, what did those businesses do? And the answer is, well, listen out for some tips from today. We'll go through some of it. So what we're going to cover today includes use of technology to boost sales and services. Quick tip there is going back to your existing customers, boosting your prices, building your brand, some sophisticated remote sales software. I could just read this off for you, or you could read it for yourself, but I'm more interested in actually sharing with you some of those tips and tricks. So let's dive into them. Before I do, the poll is still open. Selling remotely, are you selling remotely while in lockdown? So far, 57% of people are saying, yes, I'm in lockdown and selling remotely. The second most popular there is, so far, is I'm not in lockdown and I close sales in person. That's 20% of the market. The interesting thing there is I'm not in lockdown, but I'm still selling remotely. 17% of the market. So remote sales is a pretty interesting thing. It's a topic we're going to come to later, in particular when we hear from Maaike as well. So for the moment, let's continue on. You won't hear much more of me after this, this next little session. I'm going to be presenting on smart ways to shape up your solar business, and let's jump into it. We've taken a survey at Sunwiz recently, and the number one issue we heard from clients and customers out there is that there is just an immense pressure to price match. And the question and that's just driving down prices relentlessly. Nigel talks about this on his various podcasts as well. And what we see happen is, apart from people bitching and moaning about this, the action they tend to take is, well, where can I buy my products cheaper? And the focus often is, okay, how can I just buy the cheapest possible product or the cheapest possible price? And Dean Mannix said it great on Nigel Morris's Great Solar Business podcast, is you're always going to be outcompeted on price. Bigger companies are always going to have better buying power than you. And so is it sensible to try and compete on their grounds? Or should you be doing something different? And somebody smarter than me said, different is better than better. And it's time to do something different. So take some notes, get out your pen and paper and write down some of the stuff that's coming today. And a good answer, good response to, do you match prices? It might be to say price matching. No, we're better than that. And here's why. I've been trying to simplify down a solar business model into a really simple slide that we can present in just a couple of minutes. Let's put it this way. The key levers that impact a business success are essentially the price you charge, the percentage conversion rate that you get, how much of your profit from each sale then goes into and gets followed by operations. And that's, how much is left over for you at the end, of which some of which you'll go in and reinvest. And at its simplest, that's a solar business there, but it's the simplest, it's actually really any business. We're no different, they've got some different challenges. Add into that, yes, of course, there is, that's kind of like your short-term stuff, but then there's the overlay of planning and execution of your business strategy. What are the things that affect these and drive these pressures on solar businesses to be really focused on lowest price? We find actually the lead quality. A lot of companies are out there not doing a great job of marketing their own self and relying on lead generators. And there are some good lead generators, but mostly as soon as you do that, you're automatically in competition with 2-3 other businesses, and your customers are going to be therefore coming across you at the same time and then looking just basically on price. You don't get a chance to educate your customer or differentiate. Conversion and price is a function of differentiation there as well. And we see a lot of businesses out there, the proposal that looks exactly the same as somebody else's. It's produced in proposal software that is used by a lot of solar businesses and which doesn't really allow you to differentiate yourself or even look different on a proposal. So if as a solar customer, I got two proposals that look exactly the same, they might have different panels or inverters, but I can't tell the difference between JA and Jinko. I'm going to look at them, they look the same to me. I'm going to choose the cheaper one. So if you can improve your differentiation, then you'll be able to improve your business. And I think Rusty is going to talk on to that a bit later. Processes. So the degree of which all of that, profit that you might have got out of a sale gets swallowed in inefficient processes, in your mistakes, and in customers that just get stuck. And so your profit's getting stuck. The way to address that is through automation. And that's something which I'll come into in a moment. And then strategic execution is about having good information. There's a whole lot of more depth and layer that goes in beneath each of those parts of the solar business model, and actually, you need to address each and every one of these. But those key things there that I see as differentiation, particularly. All right, more to that later. And if you're interested in hearing more about this, it will be presenting some more information on that on another day. Okay, where are we? Forward. There we go. So lead quality, big issue. 2 out of 3 businesses interviewed by Nigel Morris said that using customer service to build reputation and generate referrals was key to their business success. What you need to do, wean yourself off lead providers, / I'm going to use the good one, then really drive your referral business and get more organic business through your web presence, through high Google ratings and reviews. Now, to achieve this kind of referrals and organic ratings and reviews, you really need to focus on exceptional customer service. You need to promise it from the start so people are pre-keyed into expecting it, and actually ask them, here's a tip, here's a hint, try it. If you promise them and then say, if I deliver this, will you give me a referral, a rating, etc., then they're already agreeing to be boosting your business for you and increasing your lead quality. So make sure you deliver that exceptional customer service, which requires you have the margin to do so, and with some of which is automations. All right, next we talk about differentiation. So you've got to be different. You've got to be different where it counts at the customer's buying decision point, which is particularly their proposal. It's also your website. And then how much customer outreach are you doing, and what about that actually communicates that message? And there's people try to differentiate, but they're often differentiating the same way as everyone else. I'm an approved solar retailer. I use Clean Energy Council approved products. That doesn't, to an end customer, doesn't mean too much. I suggest you describe the experience you deliver. And stories are powerful. What's your story? What's your business's story? And what's your why? The customers can relate to that, and that can be very different. And make sure whatever you claim, it's not just a claim. Anyone can claim we're the best or we do quality, etc. But it's about how you demonstrate it. So make sure you demonstrate it. Again, Nigel Morris, a great solid podcast interview there. People are expensive. You've got to use their time wisely. Another key solid business owner this year, not going to waste money on staff. You're talking about operational efficiency, and it really does make a difference here. So from all of this, I'm seeing that automation is the #1 trend of 2021, and our survey confirmed that everyone recognizes they need to do it, don't know how to get started, etc. But it does save time. But it also prevents mistakes and starts codifying some of your business processes, which enhances the value of your business. Some of the things you can automate is, just the elimination of the double entry of customer details, from lead form to solar software to CRM, all these other places. You can also automate exceptional customer service. And, for example, SMSs when your customer views your proposal, so you can call them straight away. We've got a guide there that you can have a look at some of the automations we suggest. All right, there are some more things coming up for you today. I'm going to stop sharing, and we're just going to have a chat now for a few minutes. Panelists, what did you see out there? Rusty, you're going to have to unmute yourself, mate.
I like what you're talking about with differentiation, and it's just key. But also, I just want to note that it's not the first time that we've gone through a retraction. I mean, I've been through a few of them now, Nigel. I know you've been through many of them. You know, we all have. And like 2012, the bubble burst and everything retracted. I mean, businesses went out of business left, right, and center. And this has happened over and over again. You talk to the old dogs of the industry that have been doing this for 30 years plus. It keeps happening. So just understand and prepare that it will happen. Anticipate that it's going to happen. And so what are you going to do to be different? And part of that is differentiation, and starting to be unique in some way and stand out is critical, and telling that compelling story. Get to know yourself really well and then be yourself to your customers.
Yeah, Nigel will have seen this before. I'm sure, Sam, you will have too. What's your number one tip from, actually, Nigel, you operated a solar retailer around about through some of these years. If you could boil it up to one thing that you think is the really important thing for solar retailers to do right now at times like these, what would you say it is?
Well, way to put me on the spot, mate. Actually, I'm going to say data. I'm just going to say data because, and in fact, a plug to you and the work that I used to be involved with in, there is a lot of information that you can get that gives you potential insight into where the market is going to head and what the trends are in the market. And having a read on our market is so important because it is so variable and it is so volatile. And I know in many years gone by, Warwick, you and I used to sit under a tree and wax lyrical about all the different things that could positively or negatively affect consumer sentiment. And we're seeing it right now. And so, you know, I think as a business owner, being really tuned into good market data so that you understand what's probable and what's likely. And, you know, that's really critical because it is a volatile industry.
Yeah, thanks, Nigel. You're right. And what we're seeing actually very interestingly through our partnership with Open Solar is actually even at the level of business analytics. We see a lot of companies out there, when you start to analyze their data and provide that kind of service, they love just, you know, having you as a coach and the KPIs and seeing their own kind of trajectory and how that maps out to the industries, knowing what's about to happen and whether they should be investing in more or pulling, you know, trimming the sales. But even we see a lot of companies that are focusing on products which aren't selling so well for them and overlooking products which are, focusing on postcodes similarly, where they're putting all their attention into, and actually the conversion rate in those postcodes is terrible. So it's like not just your market data that can be useful for that kind of meta stuff, but actually your micro level business data can also help your business there too.
Yeah, I was just going to add to what Nigel said and what you were saying, that the service that you provide through Sunwiz with the Sunbiz advisor in really zooming into a particular business and look at all these different aspects and also see, for example, which salesperson closes far more sales than others, and then finding out what it is that this person does differently so that you can train the team and share those different tips and tricks as well.
Great. And look, if you, I'd love to hear in the chat line, innovative ways that you use data in your business, and don't give away all your secrets, etc. But if you found a particularly useful for data, or it's given you an aha moment about your business or the industry, would love to hear that. Katherine, I think you're a pretty data intensive business. What role does data play for you? Yeah,
data is a big focus of our future. We probably didn't set it up, to be honest, in the best way. And it's as you grow, you realize that, you know, it's what you should have done at the very foundation. So anyone who's starting out a business, I think it's really important to look at the role, look at the tools, look at the software, look at the metrics that you focus on in the business, because the metrics that you focus on and that you get your business to rally behind, you know, the ones that really move the dial and really help you succeed. So yeah, I think data means something different to everyone, but I think in your business, you have to work out what are the key metrics that you're going to focus on. And I think the other thing to note is those metrics change all the time. So it might be, you know, it might be activation, it might be like conversion of lead, but, you know, I think you have to always, you know, be thinking about what's most relevant to you now and what do you need to focus on.
Great, and we've got a comment there. Some company used Nearmap AI to confirm how many leads we generated actually installed solar. That's good to know. It's like, okay, did that customer go ahead with somebody else or not go ahead at all? And that can be useful for understanding quality of your leads, but also, you know, should I go back to that customer at a later date? Nigel, we'd love to hear from you now with your presentation. Do you want to cue that up and get going?
Will do. That should be on the screen in front of everyone. And I'll just, there we go. So yeah, and in fact, I'm going to start off. I love a good story about a slowdown, and I'm going to go back about 28 years when there was a slowdown that I remember. And we went, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? There's no leads coming in. And 28 years ago, the solution was go to that filing cabinet, dig out customer files, look for the ones that didn't sell and start ringing them. And that was how it was done 28 years ago. Now, of course, that's still as relevant today as it was 28 years ago. But going to try and sum it up. Got 5 minutes. That's going to be a record time for me to only talk for that short amount of time. But I'm going to do my best. So the way I've looked at this is, what's the problem? What's the opportunity, right? So we know what the problems are. The number one big one looming over the entire industry at the moment is COVID. And when I say COVID, there are a lot of elements to COVID. There's incredible logistics issues and challenges across the market that I hear about every day. Freight costs have, multiplied by 7 or 10x. People are discombobulated, and I'm going to touch on COVID specifically because it's having a massive impact. But the consequences of a slowdown, even more generally speaking, is lead flow, of course, is slower. Consumers are more nervous to make their decisions. You can't necessarily get to sites easily. And of course, all of that makes everyone desperate. So then it becomes hard to stand out. And these are things that we have seen. In fact, I used to, when I was running my own consultancy, run an index of consumer sentiment. And you could actually track, major bushfire events, major drought events, the Longford gas crisis. There have been literally dozens and dozens and dozens of events, statements by, ridiculous governments, for example, right? Anything. All of those things have an impact on consumer confidence, and consumers are fickle. And it doesn't take much for them to get turned off or to get turned back on. So, clearly right now, and I think I made about 30 phone calls yesterday afternoon, chatting to various people, trying to get a sense of what was going on out there in the market. And at the moment, it's clear we're sort of pretty well down on a dip in the solar coaster. And so let's talk about some opportunities that come out of that. Certainly, the opportunity. I've given it all away. There we go. Remote updates are possible. Digital media has never been more powerful and never been more engaging. You've got a lot of data in your business, even if you don't realize you've got a lot of data in your business. And indeed, some of your suppliers have got a lot of data that can help you. You can generate referrals, you can do upsells and backsells. And I'm going to take you as quickly as I can through a few examples of that. Please forgive me. I'm going to try not to plug Solar Analytics, but I am going to talk about some of the features that I know so well because of what we do. Firstly, COVID. I'm going to say this because this is really relevant to millions of us. There's a name for the blah that we're all feeling, and it's called languishing. That's where so many of us are. We're kind of halfway between flourishing and depression, right? And it's okay to, in fact, it's really helpful to understand that for a lot of us, we are just languishing. We've got fragmented thinking and stuff going on all around us, whether it's personal or professional or everything else. Everything's a bit fragmented. Like almost everyone I talk to, even though they're doing okay and they're kind of surviving, the drive can be really, really hard to keep going when you're sitting in your own lounge room or basement like I am today, without the benefit of Kathleen Ryan and a million other people to get me fired up. So how do you get through that? How do you resolve that? How do you get through languishing in this market? And there were some really good tips that I read. And one which summed it all up was that, according to a recent study, people who became immersed in a project were the ones who managed to avoid languishing the best. Now, that may be a work project. It may be a problem that you're trying to solve in your business. It may be, creating that new website that you've always wanted to do and, pulling the pieces together for that. Or maybe a vintage motorcycle. That's what got me through the last 18 months, was having a vintage motorcycle to play with. And I could immerse myself in that and take myself out of the real world just for 10 minutes.
let's keep going, mate.
15 minutes. Okay, sorry. Got it. Okay, no worries. Digital media, I'm going to touch very briefly on this, but there are loads of opportunities. I won't breathe through all the words here, but I think there is huge opportunity to do a lot more with digital. And in fact, the lesson that I've had is in the last 5 days, 4 different businesses have said to me, well, of course I'm building a studio for social media. It's almost an intrinsic part of having a solar business. There are loads of ways you can use your data. You can actually use service tools like, for example, our fleet dashboard manager that allows you to go out and show that you're servicing customers well, and that's a way that you can impress them and generate referrals. You can do upsells, plan optimizer. I'm going to skim straight through to this one because it was my most favorite. This is my dad. If there's one solar customer you could look after, it's your dad. I used our new plan optimizer tool and I said, hey dad, good news, you are on the best plan. You're already on the best plan. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to look for another plan. So that's really good. Relax, feel comfortable. You're in the best hands. Everything's sweet. Conversely, this customer, who I've already rung the retailer who belongs to this customer I can save $2,400 a year. Now, I'm not going anywhere out of my home office. He's not going anywhere out of his home office. He can ring his customer and save that customer an extra $2,400 a year. There are loads of tools and, fleet alerts, battery sizing. This is a great one. Did a calculation on the site earlier. This is all done digitally, remotely. Worked out this customer had a home suitable for a 17 kilowatt hour battery. That's a sales call ready to make, right? That's a digital sales call ready to make. Custom displays is another thing that we do for councils, schools, libraries, all those kinds of things. Upselling a customer to a product like this can be done completely remotely, completely digitally, adds value to your sale. And there's a ton more. I am also going to, I'm going to show you this slideshow, not because I'm necessarily a fan of social energy. In fact, I recommended to my buddy who got a quote from them that he didn't go with them. Sorry if they're on the
make it tidy, Nigel.
Okay, but what did impress me about this was the digital format that they had their quotation in was so impressive that my buddy was just blown away and he wanted to go with them because the quote was so amazing. It was very sophisticated. It was very nice. There's lots and lots of examples out there. That's one on media. Thanks.
Thanks, Nigel. Yeah, I really picked up on your going back to customers and offering a battery, or even just as a service. Hey, this is the size battery that's perfect for you, right? Yeah. And that's a good application. I'm curious to hear what the other panelists heard or have questions they've got.
I'll comment. We use solar analytics as well. I think what solar analytics does and some of this data really shows is customers are getting the most out of their solar, and then customers who are happy and saving money and have a really good system for their solar then talk about solar with their friends and family. They have a good news story about solar. We need to find those customers as an industry. So there's so much negativity from the media, the solar tax, all of this stuff going on. So to find those customers and then create a good news story on their experience and then share it on your social, share it everywhere you can, hopefully gets picked up somewhere. The more and more good news stories of solar out there, the better for the industry. And it will just tip some of those customers that are a little bit on the fence around what does this all mean for me? Because solar still makes the most sense of any energy for our consumer. So we just need to make sure that we're putting out some positive stories, and data that Nigel showed definitely helps you be able to find those.
Celebrate the good news as well. We just made a change, and it's amazing going through the number of dashboards and seeing when we now have a cumulative lifetime savings number right at the front. And it's just like the first thing you see is, wow, I've saved thousands of dollars. This solar's unreal. If you don't see anything else, that's a nice thing to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can.
Warwick, I'm just going to pick up on the languishing aspect super quick and the mental health aspect. So what I've noticed and what I do with my solar business coaching clients is instead of getting overwhelmed with the big picture of trying to focus on what's happening in the next 12 months, 2 years, bring it back to what's happening this week. What are we going to focus on today, this week, this month, and set some like 3 targets to really focus on. Right, I'm just going to focus on these 3 projects or these 3 tasks that I'm really going to nail them, and I'm actually going to execute upon them and then move on, as opposed to getting overwhelmed with I don't know where I'm going to be in 6 months' time, 12 months' time. You got to bring it back to bite-sized chunks and make it small and achievable, and then move on. And otherwise, it's so overwhelming. You know, where are you going to be? That's helped a lot of businesses I speak with.
Thanks, Rusty. I don't want to cut, somebody was going to say something, but I'll cut you off just for a moment and we'll keep moving through. But for the panelists, I encourage you, if you've got gems of wisdom that you've heard there that you want to share, I encourage you to say in your presentation, or even it's in the chat line, write them down. I've just been making some notes there as I'm hearing stuff going, oh yeah, that's gold. Rusty, take us away with some of your other tips.
Right. Do you want me to do presentation?
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Roger that. Okay. Okay. How to thrive in any market conditions. I'm going to hit the stopwatch and go. So basically, 4 keys to success here. So 4 things that I focus on with solar businesses. Number 1, you got to cut through the noise. Firstly, you got to cut through the noise. It's incredibly noisy. It's incredible how many businesses these days are advertising, doing marketing campaigns. Everyone's trying to do socials, YouTube videos and Facebook campaigns and Instagram, and it's so noisy. So how are you going to cut through that? Some businesses aren't doing anything, which means that, you know, you're not even in the conversation, which is a problem. So number 1, you got to build your brand. But what does that even mean in building your brand? So what I always say to businesses is that you need to stand for something. You know, in building your brand, it's not about a logo and it's not about a color scheme. That's not a brand. That's like your minimum entry level into branding. What a brand is really about is, who are you? What do you stand for? What are your values as a business? Why are you unique? What is your compelling story? If you look at some of the great brands that have been built over the last 10 years, and let's use a classic example of, you know, Gippsland Solar, Andy McCarthy, you know, building this great brand and actually getting the messaging out to the community and standing for something, doing community projects, really made a difference. So tell that unique story about who you are, and don't be shy around how the business started. Maybe I was an electrician when I started my solar company all those years ago, back in, 2007, which is when I really started to launch that, back in design installation days, and got really clear on telling that story. I'm an electrician. That's who I am. I'm not trying to pretend something that I'm to be something that I'm not. This is how I got into it. I used to tell the story about how I actually got into solar and how it grew to the first employee, the next, and then all the contractors that we had on board and the dozens of people that supported the business, and actually just told that story and what our values were, and just told it really clearly and succinctly, and developed a pitch around the brand. Yeah, and just could tell it in a 10-second elevator pitch. So really double down on, why are you unique and how are you different? And maybe it's, you know, you just focus on safe solar, or maybe you focus on data monitoring. Okay, so that's a little bit about branding. Next, partnerships. We can't do it alone, right? So we need to have partnerships. We need to partner with other businesses, other organizations, to start to get ourselves out there on a larger scale. Now, that could be as simple as a football club. It could be a unique organization that's going to help get you out there. It could be wealth creation agencies. It could be councils. Like, who are you actually going to partner with to get you out there on a much larger scale? Okay, so for a classic example is, consider myself as Energetic Consulting partnering with SunWiz right now to help support the industry, which I love to do and I've done many times through different webinars. But it's a kind of partnership, isn't it, for the business that I do as a solar business coach? So that's one way that I'm partnering to get myself out there and support the industry. But who can you partner with? So build strong partnerships and utilize those networks and the connections and the employees of those companies, et cetera. Okay, so that's another way to do that. Get visible. If you're just say an electrical business and you're not really out there in the community or out there in front of your customers in some way, people don't know that you exist. Even if you're a large company. I mean, I've worked for like $2 billion companies, and it's the same whether you're one person or 1,200 people. You have to be visible. You got to get yourself out there. Either pick up a phone, record a video of yourself for 2 minutes, just talking about what you do or your latest project. Go onto site with your customers and interview a customer. And it doesn't have to be flash. Don't worry about the lights and the fancy audio and everything else. Just do it. Remember that speed over perfection. Don't let perfection get in the way of good is often enough. Okay, so don't let it get in the way. So just get visible out there. Yes, play with some advertising campaigns, but it doesn't have to be too much. You can do some simple Facebook campaigns as a way of getting visible as well. Try something new. Okay, so trying something new means potentially you're going to try a new way of accessing customers. Back in the day, we used to do bulk buy schemes. I used to do employee schemes. I would approach businesses and say, not only am I going to install a commercial solar system for you, but I'm going to provide a discount for all of your staff in your business as an employee scheme. Automatically, depending on tiered levels, you might get a 5% discount off the solar system cost, 10%, 15%. That's it, like just trying different things. And that was incredibly successful. Another way is automating the customers. You can't be a master of all things, right? So automate your systems and processes in the back end. Now that could be marketing through email marketing automation, which we do at Sunfluence, obviously, but it could also be in your systems and processes, linking everything in the back end so you become more efficient. How do you get one person to do the job of 3 people? Which is exactly what I used to do in my solar business. We basically at the beginning had 4 full-time staff turning over millions of dollars. How did we do that? All the systems and processes were immaculately detailed. We would try new things in how to link different systems, different CRM linking with other platforms. So that was a way of trying something new. So I'm at 6 minutes, Warwick.
Yep.
That is me.
Well done, Rusty. Nailed it. And we have a poll open there for cheap solar. We're curious to know how effective are your sales staff in selling against cheap solar. So far, the strongest answer is our sales staff to 50-50 against cheap solar. And we have 17% of respondents saying they don't struggle at all selling against cheap solar. So they must be doing something right, and demonstrate and inspire everyone to go and say, yes, it's possible, particularly if in those bottom 20% of respondents that are really struggling there. Hey, Rusty, thanks for your presentation. I love the employee schemes, a great suggestion because everyone's at home as well right now, working from home and using more electricity. So imagine being the employer that supports everyone to get their solar on their roof, and there's a lead for your business. What else did other panelists pick up from Rusty that really sparked your interest?
I heard a few things. I thought it was a fantastic presentation. So I loved cutting through the noise, building a brand. I think it's so important to do deliberately. And it's something that we're spending a bit of time now on at Bright, but I also think it's something that you can really engage your team on as well. So what do you stand for? What type of business are you? I don't think it needs to be done in a bit of a vacuum. I think it's a great way to be able to, bring in your people who are on the phones, who are salespeople, and get their feedback on what they're hearing differentiates them from others. What's been successful with how they interact with their customers. And use all those little bits of information to be able to build up, your culture, your identity, and start to think about, with the information that you've gathered, what makes you different from, the person next to you selling solar and selling a similar proposition. So I think it's worth now, if you've got a bit of downtime, I think it's a great type of, engagement tool that you can have with your teams and start to think about, what is our brand? How do we build it really consciously? And how is it something that we continue to perfect over time? Yeah, great.
That's great. And also we saw partnerships, and we had a message from the crowd there from Ali saying partnership is key, and mentioning real estate agents presumably and power purchase agreements. And I can only imagine that real estate agents know who's just moved into a house, and that's a great time to be getting solar, right? What else was out there? Got time for one more comment. Rusty, you nailed it, mate. We're speechless. And thanks, Katherine, as well. And again, if you've got any questions for the panelists, then please hit us up on the Q&A. Any comments there, then please use the chat. Ali's also chimed in there saying energy brokers as well. Yeah, again, partnerships are really low-cost lead generation and often really high value and engaged people. Just before we go to Rusty, we will. That poll, we get to our staff are 50-50 against selling against cheap solar. I'll share that results for you there. But yeah, there is definitely things you can do to lift that, and we'll hear from some of those in the course of our presentations. Maaike, you're up next.
Yes.
Please, let's hear it off.
Thank you, Warwick. So my focus will really be on how software can help you and help your solar business to survive and thrive during this period of downturn, and also through the period of uncertainty caused by COVID lockdowns. Let me first zoom into your customer and what we've already heard in previous presentations as well. Obviously, many more people are at home, and during these lockdowns, they are more interested in home improvements and far more aware of their electricity bills and their usage. As a solar business, even more so if you're in a state that is in lockdown, which many of us which was noted on the chat are at the moment and in the poll, you're not able to visit your customer. So you will really benefit from an end-to-end software solution that enables you to sell remotely, but also streamline your business processes. And that goes for everyone, whether you're in lockdown or not. It's not anymore like 10, 15 years ago where you had to go to a house or a business, climb up on the roof, measure it all out, and then draw up a proposal. You can now do all of this online on the basis of imagery and software that can help you with that, and then show your customer in a digital presentation what it will look like. So it's not only about the design and the sale, but I would rather say that digitizing all of your business processes is really beneficial for you. And this downturn and slower time you can use to really switch that on. So you can go all the way from lead capture to customer management to design, and of course the sale, closing, project management, but you can also streamline it further by plugging in a finance solution or, for example, ordering your equipment online. All of this will save you a lot of time, and you don't need to go back and forth in different programs on your laptop. You also save time because you don't need to go on site, or you cannot go on site even if you wanted to. On this extra time, I suggest you use to really drill into what your customer wants, what they need, what are their current energy patterns, what is their usage, but also what is their ideal usage. Are they planning on, I don't know, would they actually like to run their air conditioning more? Are they planning on adding an electric vehicle, or do they want to build a pool, for example? So really by humanizing the energy and by finding out what your customer wants, you can create a proposal that is completely accurate to their individual situation. Also by spending time to educate your customer, you can make them help make informed choices. So you create this really good rapport with them, and that will increase referrals as they now feel as they now feel empowered to discuss energy and solar with their inner circles. So more referrals is really the best lead that you can get. And what we heard a little bit earlier as well, if you want to take this even further, you can add Sunfluence, and Warwick and Russell can tell you more about that. With remote solar software, you also have this really empowering thing where you can offer your customer a calendar booking link within the proposal. So when they are looking at it, they can really check a good time that they would like to talk further at their convenience. And you can use a service like this, like a Zoom functionality, for example, and you're kind of with them at their kitchen table, and you can still do like the conversation, even though it's virtual. And you can also use an integrated chat functionality to ping them when they are looking at the proposal and say, I'm here, I can help you with different things. So one of the things that I would really like to stress is that solar is now the cheapest source of energy. We all know that, but your customer may not. We have a great penetration of solar in Australia. It's still only maybe a quarter, not even of households. So the challenge is to make our customers aware of that. Firstly, you also need to overcome the financial hurdle, and I'm sure that Katherine will tell you more about that as well. So instead of having a large capital outlay at the start, you can spread it out over a payment plan, and that will enable the customer to save from day one and to have a lower total payment than the current electricity bills. And secondly, really important, you can use a good proposal system that shows them what the environmental benefits are of their solar system. So for example, you can show them things like car kilometers avoided over the lifetime of their system, or trees planted, or long haul flights avoided. Things like that will really help place it also in that picture. I wanted to also add one quick classic sales example, and that is basically if you look at a customer that has the option of buying a dress from a rack or trying it on in the shop with a sales rep telling them how awesome it looks on them, and then also the chance to sell that dress becomes much greater because they see it on them and it's in front of the salesperson. The same goes for solar. It really helps a lot if a customer can see the solar system on their house or on their business, and it's really super powerful if you can show them their roof with this immersive virtual world and then draw on the panels, and you can see like the ray tracing at different times of the day and use that automated shading analysis to really adjust the proposed system options based on the information and their usage preferences. So it's really a portal into the future. They can picture a beautiful system on their own roof and they can see it happening, how it like really see and feel what it would be like. So in conclusion, I'm there. It's really like an accurate design saves them huge amounts of time, like the solar business. It eliminates rework and it will really create bankable systems. And more importantly, it will make sure that you have happy customers. They receive what they have paid for and they will tell their friends.
Thanks, Maaike. Thanks so much. And I'd love to shout about how awesome Open Solar is. It is really quite sophisticated and more powerful than most of the other tools out there. And going back to what we said before, it does allow you to stand apart from the competition and differentiate yourself. There's some enhancements you can do to that, of course, and speak to Sunwiz. And you mentioned partners there. Yeah, Sunfluence, and just ties in with a lot of these themes that we're talking about with the automations, the all-in-one sort of CRM and functions and automations. Just recently this week, there was the announcement that Sunfluence now works with Open Solar as well. So if you want to automate exceptional customer service. But there's a question there from the audience from Mark Moody. Katherine, when is Bright going to become a finance partner on Open Solar?
Oh yes, we're doing the integration, so it's happening. I know it's on the roadmap. So yeah, we're building up the tech team, hiring lots more people. We have more bandwidth now, and I've been really excited, looking forward, Maaike and Birchie to integrate. So very soon, it's happening.
Exciting stuff. And Russ, do you think there was another question out there? What are the best methods the panel recommend in boosting genuine reviews volume? Could you talk to that?
Starters, make sure that you have an easy system for customers to leave reviews. So that's one great way to boost it in the first place. Make sure that you've got a form that they can easily fill out, obviously a digital form, and it just flows straight through. And that needs to be a part of your automated sales process. So once you go to post-installation part of the process, it just needs to be automated where the form goes straight through to them to leave a review. Another way to encourage leaving reviews is, at what point does the salesperson hand over the project and step out of the project? Maybe you want your salesperson to follow that up, or maybe it's a customer service person that follows that up. Remember, like exceptional customer service going above and beyond means that it's all staged out. You know exactly at what point you need to get that review in your process. If it's automated, salesperson, customer service person, someone needs to make that happen to follow that up, right? Don't leave it to chance. Anything that you leave to chance, it's just not going to happen. So it's clear and simple.
And Maaike, thank you for that, Rusty. Maaike, you mentioned trying the dress on and getting to a sense of how it feels. One thing I'm impressed is with Open Solar is you can do 3D design automatically and even do automated shading analysis in 3D to go that next level, and probably time with some solar analytics, which I think is another partner of yours. Tell us about your 3D functionality.
Yeah, so with the 3D imagery, you can paint the panels on and the system will pick up automatically what the pitch of the roof is, and it will also pick up all the different obstructions. So it will automatically tell you at what parts of the day you may have shading, and therefore you may decide that you actually want to have a panel less, or that you want to position your system in a different spot, or maybe that you want to use some different technology for it as well. Yeah, so all that pops out automatically.
Yeah, pretty impressive. And again, delivering that next level of customer service that differentiates you from somebody else, and then also, delivering very happy customers that are actually getting the benefits that that they were promised, because you've taken account for the fact that there's a tree just off to that side or whatever it is. So great. Thank you so much, Maaike. Katherine, you're up next. Off you go.
I think you laugh. I think so. I've had a little bit of a tickle in my throat, so I've got a jar of honey. I think if the tickle comes back. So, Maaike, I should have lent some to you. I'll just share my screen. I'll just share my screen 1 second. Okay, and I'll put the stop timer on. Now, so for those who don't know Bright, we provide a 0% interest payment plan and also a green loan, and soon to provide a energy retail and energy management offering. So we're used by thousands of solar agents around Australia, and so we've been able to get feedback from the solar installers and feedback from customers over the last few months, and so I'll be able to share some of the insights that we've had, and also some ideas for how finance can help without doing a pitch too big on Bright. So what we're hearing on the ground, no surprise to anyone, is that New South Wales, particularly the 12 LGAs, are really hurting. And so the constant stop-start has been a real challenge. And the term that we've used internally at Bright, it's been more of a stand down than a lockdown for many of those businesses. And so we've heard of whole teams being stood down, right from field sales to installers, largely because they've been in those affected LGAs. So the restrictions have added complexity, not just to people who are on the ground, but also to us as a finance company. So we've had people who've got credit approved effectively, and it's been months before they've been able to get someone to their home, or they're still waiting to be able to get that installed. And so that also causes delays for us. We have to check that their credit information is still correct. So we're working on things that we can do to make it easier, but we're seeing impacts and flow-on effects right across the board. We're also hearing that people are finding it really hard to navigate the rule changes. They're not understanding how the rule changes impact. Can they do field sales? Can they do the installation? Is it because the resident is in that LGA or because their staff member lives there? And it's so confusing. Government support's really different compared to last year when we were going through COVID 1.0. So there's no JobKeeper. A lot of the state governments have been struggling to get businesses money fast when they need it, and that's had a huge impact. What we've seen as well is consumer sentiment's really down. And so we look at different polls, and one of the ones we look at is the ANZ Roy Morgan poll, and it showed a decline of 1.8%, which is well below its weekly average. And it's led by the biggest drops in Sydney and Melbourne, which is also what we're seeing in our finance applications and volumes, and consistent with what Warwick showed you as well with his data. So it's just meant that, that it's just created a huge lack of confidence. Households don't feel confident committing to large value purchases because they just don't know what the future is going to hold, and they don't know when the uncertainty is going to end. So that's what we're hearing. I think there are lots of things that we can do, and we're hearing from everyone today, but that's how people are feeling. It was great news to see the Premier's roadmap announced today. So New South Wales Premier Roadmap to Freedom. And I think it's these types of announcements with clear pathways, rising vaccination rates, that'll start to create that confidence and will really start to help people navigate that noise that Russell was talking about in their head. And so start to navigate that noise and start to be more open to different proposals. So what we're doing at Bright, one of the things that we've done is we are looking at how we can help people navigate the COVID restrictions. So we're keeping up to date with all the different government announcements. We have this site on our website. You can see the URL on the bottom, but we take the announcements and we update our website daily just to show how it's going to be impacting the solar industry in each state and specifically with LGAs. We also, if we have mixed messages, we ring up government. And so we get that clarity directly from them, just in case we hear from someone that says, you know, we heard something different. So that's a great site to be able to go through to get some facts. Another thing is we recently won the ACT government's sustainable home scheme, household scheme. And so that has opened up initially for 100 people. It's extended to now a broad group of 400 people, but very soon it's going to be opening up to all of ACT. And so that'll have, that currently has a wait list of 7,000 people who are wanting to buy solar and other energy efficient assets. So get accredited with us today. If you've got a quiet time, get accredited. You've got to be accredited with Bright. Start to get trained. Start to build up your brand in the ACT. So start to cut through, build up your brand, get people to know who you are, and just get ready because this scheme will be available soon. And so just finally, how finance can help. Well, in times like this, when every lead, conversion of every lead really matters, it's interesting to think about a survey that we commissioned with Deloitte Access Economics just a little over a year ago. And so there was a sample of about 1,300 people. And what we heard from those customers was 70% of them said that if finance hadn't have been offered by the vendor at the point of sale, they would not have made the purchase. So they would not have made that solar purchase. And that's a huge number. 7% are saying. So I think it's really interesting to think through how can you add finance, you know, potentially look at a zero deposit, use the 0% interest, and then align obviously your repayments with the customer's energy savings. So if you can add that, it might be an extra, you know, an extra thing that you can do to make that more appealing to customers. As part of that survey, 75% said that they liked the finance product because it made it easier to manage their budget. 65% said they liked the fixed repayments. So just that affordability, that certainty is something that's really big. So just finishing off 5 minutes 46, really excited about batteries. Start getting ready for batteries, start talking to batteries. 70% of our customers have told us they want a battery. They're just nervous. They don't know where to start. They don't know how to navigate that. So start building up that trust and that brand with your customers around batteries. And the trend towards electrification is going to be huge. So leading thinkers like Saul Griffiths talked to that recently at the CEC. So start thinking beyond solar around home electrification, what you can do to help home save even more money. And that's it, Warwick.
Thanks, Katherine. And look, I think that this is the exact right time to be selling finance first, finance first, because it can, you know, for solar businesses can help you not have to compete on price and sticker price. But also, you know, now's a great time to be, solar is actually, you know, net cash flow positive when financed, right? It's like, it's not about putting a chunk of money down that you don't have. All of a sudden, it's just about someone else is paying me and I get more money from the sun. It's like, this is a great time in an economic downturn to be getting financed solar. Panelists, love to hear your thoughts on roles of solar in your, finance in your business, or what you could be doing innovative.
I'll just say super quick, I just said it in the chat that solar, financing solar can be a great way. You have to do it ethically, of course, but to say, well, if your electricity bill is, let's just call it $500, and you could make repayments of $500 to a solar system plus own a solar system at the end of the repayment period, isn't that a no-brainer? If you can prove the business case, make it simple, it's simple mathematics. And there are companies in Australia right now that lead with finance. I mean, like $40 million businesses that are clients of mine, and they just lead with finance and they prove that the business case. It's so simple. You have to present it ethically and obviously not make false claims that it's going to eliminate the bill and all this kind of stuff. Just make a simple case. It's really easy to present.
Yeah, maybe on that as well. So if you can present it in a way that basically your current electricity bill is 500, but then your electricity bill after solar plus your repayments are lower than the 500 or the same, then how can you not want that?
Yeah, and it's something that needs to be, you know, telegraphed, advertised. You know, it's like the reason you want solar right now is so you have more money right now. and explain why. Nigel, Sam, Sam, I'm curious to know about finance in your business. Nigel, as well, what was it like for you when you were in retail?
I think there's a real opportunity, and in fact, I was thinking back to earlier when lockdown started, we got involved in a number of products to try and flip systems that had been sold as cash systems over to PPA, for example, to free cash up. So there are all sorts of creative ways that you can think about finance. And as a solar guy, you don't necessarily, well, perhaps girls as well, I'm sure, but you don't naturally think about it from a finance lens and think about getting creative with finance to help your business. But there are so many ways that you can think creatively about finance. And there's so many good providers and products out there, and low interest rates now. It's just a golden opportunity to add finance to your arsenal of things that you can do to help build your business opportunities.
Thanks, Nigel. And I know there's a question in the Q&A. We'll come back to that at the end of presentation. We're about to move on to Sam's presentation. I invited Sam into here as she is in the experience of being a retailer right now, and an outstanding one in a market that's full of outstanding retailers. South Australia being one of the more having the better solar retail branding and profiles of any state, and also a state which has already been contracting a bit longer than most. So Sam, tell us what are your tips and tricks for these moments?
Sure, I'll just share my presentation. Play. All right. So firstly, I just want to say that we've heard some amazing ideas shared by the panel today, and it's great to hear ideas, and it's great to think about how that might be able to create some change for you or an opportunity for you. However, there's a lot of things that we have to do to be able to implement some of those ideas. So I guess it's a little bit timely that this presentation is talking a little bit more around some things that you can do in your business today, tomorrow, in a week, or in a year. So strategic planning is an essential process for every business. It outlines your company's future goals, and it tells you exactly how you're going to strive to reach what you need to do year after year. Last year, many businesses found that their strategic plan was severely disrupted by COVID. And it's likely that that's happening again, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't revisit, start, update your strategic plan, nor should you stop planning. There's a lot of things that you can do. You can re-examine your previous goals and compare that to what you know now and what you've learned about operating a business through a pandemic, which is a huge change crisis, which you're always managing. Identifying what your business needs to survive through restrictions, explore different revenue streams to find how you can survive even if one of the core functions of your business isn't able to be performed. Secure stock and support your suppliers, keep those open lines and communicate. Do a SWOT analysis with your team. So what are some of the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of the business at the moment, and how can you get the most out of your opportunities, and how can you mitigate some risks? And I find that presenting not all, but some of this information back to your team really gives them some hope as well, and it helps them feel more resilient to know that you've got a plan in place or you've thought about it. Sure, your plan might be disrupted, but at least you have a plan to go back to when you're ready to. Now, we do strategic planning, and it's essential for us, but I find that I often get caught up in the business's strategic plan, and therefore my goals become my business's goals, and my goals get mixed up in what my business's ups and downs are, which is not good for anyone. So I just thought I'd talk about setting a goal and how do you achieve your goal. So this is from a Harvard business study. 83% of the population don't even have goals, 14 have thought about a goal, and only 3% have written down a goal. So I thought I'd share this template that I use when I'm goal setting to really share, and I hope you'll take a photo of it and you can go back and make your own plan. But what's your goal? Maybe you do a personal SWOT analysis and you look at what opportunities or threats you want to mitigate, and you create a goal for yourself. And then you need to break your goal down into smaller tasks, like what Russell said, so that you can complete them as you go. Set yourself some deadlines and make sure you're accountable for them. You also want to make sure that you're succeeding along your goal. If your goal is a really long goal or a short goal, you want to know if you're on the right track. I mean, the easiest one is, I want to lose 5 kilos. So maybe the first goal is, I've lost my first kilo, I'm halfway, and then I've only got a kilo to go, for example. But that's how you know that your goal is working and the strategies that you've put in place are working. The obstacles is almost the most important part of your goal. I always talk about the lizard brain, the brain that just wants to go back and lay in the sun on the rock and not do anything. So it's really important to think about those down days and the days you're just not motivated, and what obstacles are going to come up early. So then you can create your contingency plan on how you're going to achieve those obstacles or beat them. So that's a really important step to do. Looking at how much money you need to achieve your goal. So you obviously don't want money to be a reason why you can't complete your goal. So just thinking about how much you need. The person responsible is a trick question. This is for you, but it's a contract between yourself. So you're making sure that you're being held accountable. And then you have a completion date. Every goal needs to have a date on which it finishes. And then you need to reflect on that goal. How well did you do? What did you learn? What could you do differently next time? And then you fill it out again, and so on and so forth. So I find when I fill this goal action plan out, I succeed in the goal that I've set out to do. I seem to have a lot of wishes. I wish I took the dog for a walk every day. I wish I read that book about this thing that I know I need to know about. But if I create a goal action plan around the things, they don't become wishes anymore, and they become really strong actions that I can complete. Now, it's also Are You OK Day today. So just phone a friend in the industry. This is a call that I did recently. Just have a chat, have a laugh, connect with some people, hear about what's going on for them. I think that being locked down, you just get so isolated. You've got your kids and your family. It's important to just have a laugh and give someone a phone call, especially today. Give them a call, ask them if they're okay, and continue that practice up. It's super, super important. So I hope you enjoyed my top 3 things. I think I'm within time, Warwick, so hope you enjoyed it.
Excellent. Thanks, Sam. Do you want to take your screen sharing off? Great. Panelists, what struck you as being really valuable in Sam's presentation?
Nothing.
Oh, no, I love that. I think it's really, really a cool way to focus your day and to make sure that you have goals that you can achieve as well. And if you need some work in progress, that you can basically monitor that and keep building on it.
Right, Rusty?
Yeah, and also to actually set yourself a plan every day. So pull out I've actually gone back to using a paper diary. I used to use all the electronic, Kanban charts and all kinds of different things. I've gone back to paper because it's achievable for me, right? So set your goals for the day. Again, small and achievable. Yes, we need the big ones. We need the big, like I'm going to take over the world goals. But we also need like what's going to get me to lunch kind of goals. And just kind of map it out, simple. Whenever we make things complicated, it just gets overwhelming. So just create your little plan for the day. I spend, 5 to 10 minutes. Sometimes I do it the night before, and then often on a Sunday night, I make my plan for the week. So I'm just ready to hit the ground running. Simple, achievable, and then just get going.
Katherine, how do you run $1 billion business?
It's not $1 billion. We'll preface that $1 billion in applications. Don't worry. So what I like, Sam, so I really, really loved your presentation. And I think it's really important to revisit your goals. And I think if you don't do that, you can get really depressed in this climate. And so, at the start of the year, I said we were going to do $1 billion, Warwick. There you go. Not $1 billion, but let's just say, and then you can't be hard on yourself. You've got to continually reassess, and you've got to look at the external factors. If you set expectations that are unrealistic. I think they're not good for yourself. They're not good for your team. And I think, it's really important now more than ever. We've heard amazing data and we've heard the facts. We've heard what's happening with sentiment. We've heard what's happening with numbers. It's really real, the difficult situation we're in as an industry. So I think it's really important just to reset our expectations as far as sales, and then gradually start to, know that the industry is going to change. Things are going to get better. So make hay, and then just, start to know that, you can set those bigger expectations back in the future.
Great, thank you. Guy on the chat line said Ivy Lee method is a fantastic daily routine for productivity. I've just looked that up. Don't look it up after the webinar, have it pre-launched, but strategy, a CEO and dad uses a 100-year-old strategy to get control of his schedules in just 15 minutes each night. That sounds pretty good. I use a Kanban, I use ClickUp, and very ruthless planning on focusing on what's essential and not being so easy to get distracted by the things which kind of make me feel a little bit good, or emails or whatever it is. But it's like partly about goal setting, but then partly about the self-accountability and discipline to just keep myself on track. What I like about a Kanban board is that I get a sense of like a little endorphin hit whenever I say, yeah, that's done and complete. And then staring in front of me from my morning or evening plan is all the things I need to achieve, rather than email, which is somebody else's to-do list for me. We have some poll questions that were up there. Let me see if I can share them with people. There was a couple of questions there. How are your leads tracking compared to the same time last year? Sharing that. So down 25, around 26 to 50% was the most common response. Many were about the same, which is good, and a smaller downturn was also pretty common. So there's a couple of people who are up, about 10% of those respondents, but at least I guess there's about half of the people were about the same or down somewhere less than 25%. Inverter of choice at the moment is leading string, Chinese string inverter was equal with a European string inverter, followed by microinverter or MLPE, and that concurs with the information that Sunwiz analyzes and publishes on market share. Thank you to all panelists. We've now got some time for Q&A, and there was a couple of questions there that have been asked. So firstly, Katherine, I think was for you. Where was it? Can Katherine touch more on the energy management and retail products she mentioned?
Yeah, so last year we did a big capital raise. We took on a lot of money. We're now taking on a lot of people. So we're bringing lots of people into the business. Check out our website if you're wanting a career change. And so we're taking a lot of people on with energy expertise. And so we're now building out these capabilities. Our energy retail license has all been approved. So my home is actually now flipped over to Bright Electricity. So I'm a trial customer, but we're just building out our capabilities, building out our team, and early next year you'll hear more news about our offer and our capabilities in this space. But as always, we work through vendors, so we work through solar installers, and so we'll absolutely be using this as an opportunity to help you make more sales, to be able to have another tool in your toolkit, to be able to speak to your customers, to be able to make batteries more affordable. One of the things that we're really backing as a business is that we think we can accelerate the uptake curve of batteries. So we may be crazy, we may be dreamers, but we want to create a product that does this. And so we're going to take the risk on. We're going to structure something that we hope is really easy. And we really want it to make a difference to the industry and at that point of sale. So yeah, we're excited.
Fabulous. Thanks, Katherine. Andy asked again, what were the best method the panel recommend in boosting genuine reviews? I think, did you cover that already, Rusty? Was there anything extra? I know my recommendation is, for example, if you're using Google reviews, there's actually a link you can send to your customers. Now, you're not supposed to incentivize positive reviews or anything there, but there are ways that you can, find your happy customers and make sure they've got the link in their hands.
Warwick, you just said the key word there is a happy customer, right? Like, you need to create raving fans, right? Who wants to go through life creating, having a mediocre kind of experience of interacting with customers? Like, go above and beyond, level up, and actually create incredible relationships with customers. So they're raving fans, so they want to leave a review, a high quality review, which means your minimum entry point into solar, I always say, is great customer service and great products. Minimum entry level. If you haven't got that, then you're not even in the game, which means have incredible customer service to do what you said you were going to do, and have integrity to follow that up. Keep following up your customers, keep providing them extra value. Back when I had a solar company back in the noughties and early tens, I guess we call it, it was all staged out, right? So I would send a book at one point in the sales journey. I would have a customer service person call at the exact right moment. I used to time it out in days, exactly between each part of the sequence. So they were followed up, which meant that we had raving fans. So a huge amount of our customers were referrals, which meant that they could leave testimonials and reviews. That's how you get increased volumes of reviews. The rest is technicalities and mechanisms.
Right, thanks, Rusty. We had a question out there, which I'll direct towards Nigel. If you're planning on selling a solar business in the future, what steps would you take to achieve this? And I'll just preface this by saying there are people out there acquiring solar businesses at the moment. I'm involved with assisting to identify solar retailers that match a buyer's needs right now. And so, yeah, this is a good question. What can you do to set yourself up for the future, Nigel?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I actually did an interview on Great Solar Business with Andy McCarthy on exactly this topic just the other week. So I'd really recommend you have a listen to what Andy said, because he's been quite successful in this. And I also interviewed a guy by the name of Eric Zimmerman, who has built and sold numerous solar businesses in another episode. So really worthwhile going there. But two things that stood out from both of those guests that I spoke to about this very issue. Number one is think really hard about making sure that the processes and the systems within your business allow it to be sold. There's no point having a business that's all in your head and that is reliant on you as a person. So it needs to be systematized, it needs to be process driven, and it needs to be well-rounded so that it is something that can easily transfer. Secondly, I would say the tip that I learned the lesson in when I had a consultancy and was helping to buy and sell businesses, timing is everything. There is a really good time to sell businesses, and there are other times that aren't so good to sell businesses. At the moment, the market seems a little bit hungry. There's a little bit of opportunity out there for acquisition. So it's not necessarily a bad time right now. So they're the two things I'd suggest, or three, including listening to the podcast.
The podcast is great. It's a source of inspiration for me, and you know, I'm using it for generating ideas for blog posts just to get the message out there. So great solar business podcast. Yeah, really recommend you subscribe there. Katherine also had a response to that saleable business. I've posted that in the chat. We're going to head to prizes in just a moment. Some last words there. Maaike, is there anything else that is left on your mind or chest?
No, I did answer a question in the Q&A just before where the person might actually want some extra information there on, are there any residential solar retailers installing during COVID lockdown in New South Wales and in Victoria?
Right, I think Katherine might have covered that in her presentation. The answer is yes, with an asterisk, I think, and with some difficulty. I think Nigel on his other podcast was talking about, you know, you even have to adjust the way you drive around certain LGAs in Sydney to get to where you're going. I certainly noted there was a big impact upon postcode level installations in Victoria this time last year, and it seems that it's not as there's more installations going on these days, but just also many hoops you've got to jump through. Tony Smith has just asked, does Open Solar have an integration with HubSpot? You'll be pleased to know that the answer is yes, via Sunwiz. Sunwiz has built a integration and automation option to extend the capabilities of Open Solar, and the first CRM which we've done extensive testing on is with HubSpot. But the great news there is actually we can integrate with practically any CRM quite quickly, and then do a lot more than just with CRM. And it's worth noting that Open Solar's inbuilt CRM is probably more than sufficient for most of the small solar businesses out there, and we can help you configure that so that it actually has checklists and task lists for each of the customer as they go through each stages, and give you the KPI reporting, etc., that helps you understand where your business is, like a CRM does, understand where each of your customers are stuck as well, to help them get through that tight period between when they can use a deposit and when they finally get something on the roof, after you've jumped through all these hoops. So reach out to SunWiz on that. Tony Smith wants a call on that very note. Sam, Christy Harris has said what CRMs you recommend. That's a big open question, but I think we use HubSpot. We do recommend it. Sam, was there anything else that you wanted to say that was on your mind from recent questions or presentations?
No, thank you so much for the time. I think it was a really good session.
Cool. Just before we do prizes, Will Edmonds, I think is Bloomberg. What's the key ingredient to selling batteries apart from finance? Who's got an answer on that? Sam, are you selling batteries yourself?
Yeah, we sell quite a lot of batteries. We're in South Australia, so we have a home battery scheme. It's a lot about grid independence, blackout protection, sort of Finn doesn't like this, Finn Peacock, but bundling your return on investment with the battery and the solar to look at what that investment looks like. That's sort of the key factors I think you should look at.
Good. Was there any other suggestions and tips that you've picked up there, perhaps Nigel or Katherine or Maaike on how to sell batteries?
There's also, of course, an aspect that is not financial in not wanting to feed your excess electricity back into the grid and not being paid for it. So there's a lot of that. And then, of course, in uncertainty with the grid or wanting to be able to island yourself from the grid.
Yeah, great. Now, we might head across to some prizes. Now, what I'm going to do, Akash, if you can share your screen, and I will let people know. Actually, before you do it, let me see if I can share my screen first and just show you what is in store. So 3 inverter integrated subscriptions from Solar Analytics, $500 worth. A reset and refocus coaching session from Rusty from Energetic Consulting, $330. Apple AirPods, courtesy of Open Solar. Bright's giving away a pizza oven, which sounds like a great thing to be doing when you're locked down. And then there's that first vendor to sign up after the event. Will receive their first eligible deal free. Sunfluence and SunWiz are giving away something to all attendees. But let's start by finding out who those 3 people are for the Solar Analytics prize there. Akash, if you can share your screen with us. What we're going to do is get you to raise your hand when your name is called, just to see that you're in the actual thing. So hit the spin, Akash, and where's those hands?
This is so cool. I didn't know you could do this. Good job.
Yeah, I haven't seen this before.
Rollo Sheriff. No, put your hands down if I don't need you to put your hands up now. If you're Rollo Sheriff and you're in there, then put your hand up. Let's do 3 of these just in quick succession, Akash, because there's 3 prizes there. I haven't seen Rollo yet, so he's not there. I can tell that. Guy Fisher is there. So Akash, if you can note down Guy Fisher as wanting one of those prizes, and spin it again. There we got again $500 worth. No, not in the audience there. So spin it again. So this is for 3 inverter integrated subscriptions with a total value of $495, courtesy of Solar Analytics. Nigel, let me get this right. There is 3 individual prizes here. Is that right?
That's right. 3 chances to win.
Matt Bromson is there. He's got his hand up. Good on you, Matt. So he's the 2nd person there for that prize. Spin it again. Akash, I'm trusting that you are, as my right-hand man, writing all these winners down. Tom Kruger, no, not there. Spin it again. As you can see, there's a lot of people on that wheel. We had 500 registrants, we're just short of. There's now 167 of you still there. Let me know that person is not there. The suspense. Reminder, after this, we'll be doing the energetic consulting. G'day, Liam. But geez, he's probably at work. Keep going. Next person. So, Nigel, while we're waiting for this, tell us about this integrated subscription.
Sure. The inverter integrated subscription allows you to connect either a SunGrow or Fronius inverter to solar analytics. So we pull the data cloud to cloud. So you use standard SunGrow hardware, standard Fronius hardware. Don't need our hardware. We have our own hardware, which is great for certain applications as well, the classic. But the inverter integration is a great way to get started. Great entry-level product.
Mark Woods is will be receiving one of those. So I think that's 3 there.
That's 3.
Fabulous. Thanks, Nigel. Spin it again. And Rusty, do you want to hear about your coaching session, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, we're going to look at the current state where the business is today, so we understand where you're at, but actually get your head in the game of where True North is again, right? So prioritize getting back on track to focusing on what True North is, create a very simple plan. I mean, obviously, this is just a simple session, but to get you on track with a simple plan to keep you moving forward.
Great, thank you. And Charlie is online at the moment, so mark him down as the person that's going in for that session. Next, we are going to do the Apple AirPods, courtesy of Open Solar. Maaike, is there anything you want to talk about while we wait for the winner?
Oh, we mostly thought that would be a very suitable, techie price, with Open Solar obviously being techie as well.
Yeah, cool. The winner is actually Chris, is on the line right now. So that's fantastic. Next prize is for a $119 worth of Ultimate Pizza Oven from Bright. Katherine, is pizza your favourite meal, or tell us why a pizza oven?
It's not my favourite meal, but with COVID, I've gotten into making bread. I got a KitchenAid. I've been using it to make pizza dough, trying to make pasta, something to do effectively. So, I think it's a nice
spin it again,
other
please.
little tool that people can have. And when things open up, hopefully we can get some in-home visitors coming soon. Hopefully you can perfect it over the coming month and then start to share your new skills with your friends in a month.
Liam, no, he could have won 2 things by now. Spin it again. Someone tell him. He'll have quite a few words to say about that, no doubt. Now, I do, while we're waiting for this, Bright's deal does have some T's and C's associated with it. So I won't bore you by reading them. Spin it again, please, Akash. But just note, with all of these giveaways, of course, there's something there. Now I'm going to post into the chat room what the ways to get that prize are. So there's a link there that you can follow. For those people who aren't on chat, that is bright.com.au/partners. Actually, Katherine, can you type that in for me? I'm having a bit of difficulty. Did we get a new spin for the pizza oven, Akash? I didn't see the answer. I'll type it in. Okay, where are our participants? No, let's try once again. This is the last spin, because everything else is either the first attendee or first sign up to Bright, and otherwise all attendees receiving a list of system prices currently being offered around the industry courtesy of SunWiz, and Sunfluence is going to waive its establishment fee. If you get the, spin it again if you can, please, Akash, the coupon, which is free setup. Okay, so let me type that up for the coupon for Sunfluence. Let me just check if Raj's, sorry, I'm just trying to juggle 5 screens. There we go. And that is Rahul. Rahul is present. So Rahul wins that pizza oven there, Katherine. All right, if you can stop sharing your screen, Akash, again, for those who want the, let's just, for the Sunfluence offer there of the free setup on its services, that is a coupon that you need to paste in when you go through the whatever they call the e-commerce thing, or when you're speaking with our salesperson there. That is free setup, and all people are going to automatically get mailed to them that price list.
The promo code, Warwick, the promo code.
Yeah, thanks, mate. That's what I was looking for. Hey, everybody on the panel, I'm really, really grateful to have shared this time with you, and it seems like everyone's really loved it. Thank you so much for contributing your insights and wisdoms to our audience and for supporting the solar industry. Been an absolute pleasure also seeing you on Are You OK Day. Please don't ask me, because you know, I probably don't want to give an honest answer some days. Just best not to ask some days when you're locked down after this long, if I'm frank. But today's a beautiful sunny day. I've been looking at my solar analytics production and going, oh yeah, that'll get me through this lethargy. Rusty, enjoy your freedom there in a few days. We'll see you at a solar event very, very soon.
100%. And stay tuned. Solar Business Academy launching next month. Everything's going online. Cheeky plug.
Cheeky plug. Any other cheeky plugs out there? Come on, here's your chance.
Well, get in touch with Sunfluence as well. Sorry, I'll leave it to the other panelists, but
Katherine,
that's our other business.
Yeah, Bright with an E, get accredited today. It's too hard to say that 70% of your customers need finance to make the sale go ahead. So give it a try.
Great. I will post that sign up link. It goes as soon as we are finished here. That's bright.com.au/partners. Cheeky plug, Maaike, what do you want to say?
Yes, of course. If you don't have an account yet on OpenSolar, go to www.opensolar.com to create your account there.
Great. Nigel?
We launched a new product today. It's called Plan Optimizer. Makes choosing the best energy plan easy.
And the benefit for your customers there is that you can be offering them more savings than anyone else can, right?
More savings, less work for the retailers, less work for the customers. Super duper easy.
Great.
Simple,
Sam,
isn't it?
Sam, I'm not sure if we've got any customers out there, but
we'll plug a Wise. If you're not already an Australian Women in Solar Energy member, jump onto the Facebook and become a member, become a part of the revolution. Join us.
Fabulous, and great to have a wonderful gender balance in the panelists today. And yeah, that is a pretty fantastic organisation. There's also Chloe Munro fellowships from the Clean Energy Council supporting women in renewables as well, and something there from the Clean Energy Council board that's related to that. But Awise is you know, open to anyone. I believe both genders. Is that right, Sam?
Yep, that's right. In order to support equality, we need both sexes to support equality.
Great, excellent. On that note, let's have a big open-armed thank you, everybody, and we'll see you again soon.
Thanks, Warwick. Thanks,
Bye,
everyone.
guys.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, bye.